Howdy folks, Jabberiki here. Owl House is a Disney cartoon that follows a girl called Luz, who struggles to fit in at school, so Luz's mother is advised to send her daughter to a normalization camp. However, Luz ends up jumping into a portal to the mysterious fantasy world of the Boiling Isles, where she meets Ida the Witch, King the Baby Demon, and Hooty the Owl Door. Luz decides to stay with her new friends in their owl house, so that she can learn magic from Ida and further explore this strange place. While living in the Boiling Isles, Luz starts attending Hexside, a school for witches. During her studies, she makes many wonderful friends and even a girlfriend called Amity. Unfortunately, the Boiling Isle citizens worship a tyrannical leader, Emperor Bellows. The Emperor runs a cult that includes such members as Ida's own sister Lilith and a brainwashed boy Luz's age named Hunter, who takes on the official role of the Golden Guard. It's up to Luz and her friends to expose Emperor Bellows and put an end to his evil regime. While the show does have a very wholesome appeal and a goofy, nerdy sense of humour, I won't beat around the bush over how freaking dark it can get sometimes. In this video, I'll be counting down my picks for the top 5 darkest ever episodes of Owl House. Let's begin. The Intruder. It started raining on the Boiling Isles, and this world's rain is dangerously acidic, so Luz convinces Ida to use their indoor time to teach her witch magic. However, Ida is too tired to perform any magic, and falls asleep. King insists that he teaches Luz about demons instead, but Luz is way more interested in witch magic. So King steals an elixir from Ida's stash, but Luz accidentally drops and breaks it. Suddenly, a creature tries breaking into the owl house, and King is convinced that it's an evil demon called a Snaggleback. So Luz and King are trapped in the owl house, while Ida is nowhere to be found. What makes this episode so dark is the sense of vulnerability that the kids are facing. Neither of them know any spells, and there's a bloodthirsty monster in their own home. I mean, everyone's worst fear is the idea of something or someone intruding into their safe, comfortable space. But imagine if said intruder was something horribly huge. The episode adopts horror filmmaking principles to hype up this creature as relentless and predatory. It's kind of nuts seeing this cute Disney cartoon using the same direction tactics as a horror master. The twist is that this supposed intruder is actually Ida in Alby's form, and the elixir that the kid stole is an antidote to Ida's curse. So now our heroes are even more screwed, because the one person who could actually help them is the one that wants to eat them right now. Luckily, Luz works out that she could perform magic using paper glyphs, and she uses a light spell to defeat owl monster Ida. After a few elixirs, Ida returns to normal. Yes, it's a happy ending, but for most of this episode, Luz and King are put through a deeply traumatic experience without anyone to help them. Youngblood Old Souls. In this episode, Ida has become a prisoner to the Emperor, so Luz and King decide to brave the villain's lair to save the Owl Lady. Meanwhile, Ida's sister Lilith, who captured Ida in hopes that the Emperor will cure Ida's curse, finds out that her beloved leader has no such ambitions. Instead, Ida will be petrified to stone in front of a public audience to send a warning to anyone who practices wild magic. So Lilith, who feels betrayed by the Emperor, teams up with Luz to save Ida from petrification. There's a lot to take in for this episode, because we learn so many things that disturb or shock us. First of all, we discover the story of how Lilith cursed her own sister. You see, many years ago, Lilith and Ida wanted to join the Emperor's coven, but they had to compete against each other. So Lilith got hold of a dark spell to cheat with, and this is what ended up cursing poor Ida. Of course, Lilith feels remorse for this, and has been determined to cure Ida since. But there's something undeniably dark about a person cursing their own sister, especially to this degree. Secondly, we get a stomach-wrenching feeling from the impending petrification of Ida. Not only do we learn that petrification spells can't be undone, but we also see the creepy plague for Ida's statue being prepared, and this public execution is giving Boiling Isle citizens confusing, guilty feelings.
What's happening to Ida isn't right. She might not always follow the rules, but she hasn't done anything worthy of a petrification.
She helped me escape jail.
She helped me stay in business.
She helped me love teaching again. After she left.
Lastly, when Luz, Lilith, and King go to save Ida from petrification, the Emperor reveals himself and says that he will free Ida if Luz surrenders the portal to the human realm to him, so Luz is forced to decide between saving the mentor she loves or keeping the door to her homeworld from this evil menace. It's a really messed up decision for a child to make, and I pity her conflict so much.
Fine! Lo siento, Mama.
In conclusion, Youngblood Old Souls makes its list because each of its major plot points are all disturbing in their own right, and there's not a single breather between each chilling scene. Thanks to them, after Luz and her friends end up in the human realm, they're taken in by Luz's mum Camille, where they experience Earth life, but still need to further investigate clues to Belos' history. At the same time, Hunter starts sensing that the Emperor himself might be in Luz's realm. Now, yes, this episode does have a wholesome coziness to it, because we're watching this wonderful mother immediately fostering these scared kids without any complaints.
They don't hate garlic like vampires, but they weren't entirely against eyeballs when we were watching that zombie movie. Gus said I could get apple blood from the apple butcher, but...
And the children themselves have adorable reactions to human artifacts.
Hunter, look at all this awesome human stuff! Whoops.
However, we still have to remember that these kids have been deeply traumatized by their adventures. Some are greatly missing their parents, and others are feeling guilt over mistakes they've made.
It's my fault everyone's trapped here, and I don't even know if King and Ida are okay. I wanted you to meet them so bad, but I keep messing up.
So no matter how homely their temporary life is, they're still haunted by pain, regret, and fear deep down. Keep in mind too, this is a Halloween special, so there's a bigger emphasis on a spooky atmosphere. I mean, there's something really unnerving about Belos prowling the human world as he creepily hides in the shadows, taunts an already fragile Hunter, or disturbs the peace of a humble modern town.
That deer really spooked us.
Will my insurance cover this? But Mommy, it wasn't a deer. It was a monster!
When Belos finally makes his presence known, he has disturbingly possessed Hunter, and Luz has to be careful in her fight, while the horrid Emperor mocks her for holding back.
You're not even trying right now.
Oh, and that's not all. In one of the most harrowing scenes in this show, Belos casually crushes Hunter's sweet palisman Flapjack like a bug.
You wouldn't want me harming your precious palisman, would you? Oh, but then again, I don't care what you want. Goodbye, Evelyn.
Even in an episode where our heroes are away from the Boiling Isles, they still face the oppressive evil of Belos and can't escape the emotional damage of their war against him, making thanks to them one of the crowning examples of Owl House at its darkest. Watching and dreaming. In this series finale, our heroes have to convince the naive child god the Collector to understand human mortality and ethics, so that he will stop his playtime dystopia and help them take down a Titan-formed Belos. I always knew that the climax to this show wouldn't hold back, and yet I was still shocked by what we got. Right from the start of the episode, we're bombarded with unsettling emotions as the Collector, under Belos' warped device, hypnotizes our heroes into experiencing nightmare simulations, with each character facing a dream that represents their very own personal fears.
I wanted to show you our new collection. What's wrong? Don't you recognize your siblings? But don't worry, we saved the best spot for you.
Thankfully, the Collector is finally educated on compassion and kindness, but he gullibly uses this new sense of humanity on the pure evil Belos, who responds with violence, only for Luz to selflessly take the line of fire and disintegrate. It's so out of nowhere. We're basically watching our beloved main character abruptly disappear into thin air, all while her chosen family looks on in horror, and the Collector ignorantly assumes that he can fix this mess with his magic like Luz is a broken toy.
She just broke, so I'll fix her. What? Why isn't it working?
Then, Ida and King, enraged with grief and anger, become the most feral and wild we've ever seen them. Belos destroyed their precious Luz, and they mean bloodthirsty vengeance. You can barely recognize them in these fierce and savage states. Fortunately, Luz is resurrected by the spirit of King's father, owner of the Titan's body that Belos has taken over. Then she returns with new Titan powers and, with help from her loved ones, takes down this genocidal tyrant. It's a rewarding conclusion to a series this unforgivably dark, but there's no denying that some traumatic scenes in this episode will stay with Owl House fans forever. Hollow Mind. When Luz and Hunter end up in the mindscape of Belos himself, they are guided through the Emperor's memories by his own inner child. Each flashback reveals that the Emperor is a con artist witch hunter who plans to wipe out every Boiling Isle citizen. Then, at the end of the tour, Kid Belos turns out to be the Emperor himself. This mindscape has a blood-curdling atmosphere. It's a strange world that's a cross between a propaganda art gallery and a creepy cave-like maze. There's a chilling nature to its bizarre dream logic that makes it hard to pin down, especially when we have to be skeptical of all the characters we meet.
Hey! Stop that! Why would he do that?
To make things worse, this dimension could end up devouring Luz and Hunter, so these kids can't dawdle about or delay their escape.
If you're devoured in his mindscape,
we'll be trapped, dragged down into his subconscious forever.
It's also truly horrifying to see the bare-boned gospel behind the Belos mythos, and how these twists psychologically mess with both Luz and Hunter's own heads. Hunter comes to the realization that his cult leader, who he's looked up to all of his life, is actually evil incarnate, and that Hunter himself is really one of many clones in a long line of Golden Guards, who were each killed whenever they failed the Emperor. Hunter becomes deeply mortified by all of this, as he exhibits exactly how real ex-cult followers genuinely feel after their leader is exposed. It's frightening how authentic his panic and fear is.
He knows. He knows we were in there. I can't go back.
Kid, breathe.
While Luz is told that she actually helped Belos enter the Boiling Isles in a previous episode involving time travel, a twist that guilts Luz so much that it will continue to torment her for the rest of the series. Hollow Mind is mainly a very creative way to give exposition to the audience regarding the Emperor's history. But when you put aside that storytelling purpose, you realise that we're basically watching two kids being trapped in a fascist twisted brain where they're forced to accept hard to swallow truths. So those were my choices for the top 5 darkest episodes of Owl House. Which episode did you find to be the grimmest? I've been Jabberiki, feel free to subscribe, like and share. Cheerio folks.